Righto, attempt 2 at shooting build day 6. So as we said, on build day 5 I'm doing things at the end of the day now. I'm going to give the camera lens a bit of a wipe. Assalamu alaikum. Got to get a shamar on today to keep us out of the heat a little bit there. Helps. It is overcast, but we learnt the other time that overcast doesn't mean that you won't get burnt. So yeah, the sun has come out now. Worked since about 9, maybe 10 this morning till about 2:30. And managed to get quite a bit done today. So these runners I was just standing on here, they're cut to, you can't really see in the video, but cut to small angles. They will be the framing edge that goes along the top of those two sheets there, linking them together and giving us something to screw our roof into. We'll also be doing that up there on this end wall and that one. So today obviously we put a lot of our main walls in. We started with that one there. Well, first of all, actually we got two sheets together on the ground, lined them up, and then we use some of this sort of framing wood to rule a line across them on an angle so that we drop by about 100 millimeters from the top of the sheet there. That's our highest point. It sits at 2.3 meters off of the bottom of the structure, so probably, I don't know, 2.35 off the ground or something. Yeah. And then we get down to 2200 millimeters there. You know, I'm just going to randomly switch around measurements all the time to make this nice and confusing. 2200, 2300. There we go. Then we got a standard sheet, which is 1200 wide by 2400. Popped it in place with a piece of wood and stuff against the fence there, measured off the tip. We're at our high point there, and just squared that off and ruled a line across to chop that down. Brought it back over and put it in place, at which point things got a lot less wobbly. This whole unit here was very, very wobbly. But as I said, it turns out my design idea was pretty valid. Stress skin works. So once we got that end wall in, a lot of our wobble came out because it's screwed to the bookcase and stuff. And then we've got that little bit of bracing wood in the bottom there. And then this one's a half wall, but again screwed into the bookcase. The same thing happened. Now what we learnt was if you don't want shitty bits of stuff like that to happen, or screws to pop through way too high like that, I need to pop that one out yet and redo it. Then you need to drill through your ply into your chipboard. Chipboard shelves don't have a lot of structural integrity, so when you just go belting screws into them, they just blow apart and split open. Had a shelf in there that had so many splits in it, I just went, oh screw it, pulled it out and put a new one in. Got a few spares to use, so we can get away with that. So learning helps us play. The mighty tenon saw did a very, very good job. Obviously, to create that smaller wall over there, I had to saw all the way through a 2400 long sheet with just manually, which we managed to do. It was a bit of hot work, but we got it done. Cut a lot of framing sections as well, like these ones over here. These are cut to length and angled so that they will fit along that top edge there, linking those two sheets together. We've got to put a bit of vertical in to link the sheets there as well, like we've done under here. And yeah, so we'll be framing with that wood all around the top edges and any corners that aren't already windows. This whole section here that I'm just videoing, so we've got an open wall there, no end wall. Oh, why has he done that? So I bought these really cool second-hand door window units. Well, actually, they're just doors with windows, but there's 3 of them. And they've got this cool kind of diagonal glass thing going on, where the windows just get larger and larger as they go through the set of 3 doors. So one of them is going to go in here with some additional ply and framing to make a wall with a small window at the top. And then 2 are going to go in here as, you know, twin doors that open right up. And then we'll be doing more framing here, more framing along there, vertical framing here. And so we'll have another pretty much 1200 length, well actually yeah, 1200 length of ply coming across this way. And then the ply that covers these areas, well actually that one there's no ply. I put my mezzanine deck in today. And then the other section of the sheets, that end wall, which again has been trimmed off to the correct height and then bolted in place, or screwed in place. But what's going to happen is the sheet that's like this one, which is our lower end wall, is over there with another one, the 2 stacked against the tree. That one's going to have most of the material cut out of it to fit the doors. Which will leave plenty of material left to build our extra wall section above the doors and window there, and above up in this area. And then over here, I'll just move. Over here we'll just have a another sheet of ply basically. So looking around on the inside now, you sort of notice this is going to be quite a shady sort of a structure, because most of my sun angles this time of day, they're over, oh, it's up there we go, and it moves across to this way. Morning sun starts over yonder through the trees, so it's quite a shady spot in terms of how I've placed my windows. Once we get all the walls and ceiling in and everything, this will be very, very shady, and I'll have only diffused light coming in through the windows, not direct light. Now what I've learnt from small structures and working in various places before and stuff, and ooh, tangent, that's what happens to chipboard when you fail to drill it properly. Yeah, not so good. Anyway, what I've learnt is that working in direct sunlight while I'm doing my art and stuff, because my art studio will be over here pretty much in the shade, is actually just really, really hot and annoying and stupid. Because of the small size of the structure and the volume of it and stuff, having direct light pouring in will just massively overheat it in summer, and then winter actually will create thermal problems the other way around. So what we're doing is the outside's painted black because I like black in all that is metal, yeah, but I will be painting the inside white. That means the outside will absorb temperature to some degree and the inside will reflect it to some degree. Now in summer that's going to be a bit of an issue, but then we're ventilating on the more shady side of the house, which means I'm going to be able to pull cooler air in with, I'll be installing some little fans to do that, and then I will be putting a vent in my high side wall here right above our sleeper bed bit, which by the way is still a little bit flexible, so I'm going to take some of those bits of small wood and put horizontal framing in under there. So yeah, where was I? So thermal theory. We're pretty much going to keep the doors actually pretty much away from the sun largely. I mean, if these trees weren't here, then I'd get morning sun, which would be cool. But we don't want midday and other sun because it would just overheat the structure. It is a very, very small space. So your primary issue with small spaces like this, which is cool because insulation is expensive, is ventilation actually. If we do have any issues in winter with cold, I've got various ideas that we can play around with at that point. With insulation, I can put X-Bol, polystyrene foam type insulation all over the outside and then reclad with some basic plastic. I could use much thinner types of insulation on the inside, like mylar sheet, various other things like that. And I can also create some sort of heat source system as well, which could work quite well. Anyway, I'm going to knock off for the day for now, but our next stages of the process will be basically to seal up all of these open edges and cracks that we've got by putting little pieces of framing in and stuff that all have to be cut to certain angles to fit the big main frames that go right around the periphery of the roof edge, so that the roof's got something to screw onto. So a lot of little verticals to put in there. Then over this way we will have some quite obviously tall verticals to put in there, and one here and stuff, and a lot of this stuff needs to really be done, especially when we start working in this corner, once we've got our little set of 3 doors, which are going to become a window and bifold doors. I'm going to be picking them up tomorrow. We already paid for them. I won an auction. I've got a really good deal actually. My budget for windows and doors was about $300 and I got them for 52, so winning. More beer money that way. Nice. So yeah, I'll go pick them up tomorrow, and then I will place them against the various ply sheets that we've got here that just would otherwise turn this into a fully boxed in structure. And we'll measure out the doors and the little spaces, and then we'll frame around all of those edges so the doors have actually got something to hinge off of and whatnot. The stress skin structure works really, really well. It's nice and rigid now that I've got it all together in this corner, but you can't exactly just hang a door off the sheet, even with the additional framing it's going to be attached to it and stuff, so it'll need quite a bit of additional boxing around to create door lintels and things of that order. But yeah, we're pretty much about 50% done on our structure here, which is cool. It was a pretty good busy day. I'm going to get out of the sun for a few hours anyway. I might come back out here and do a bit more work once the sun's gone down. Next order of business is to pop that open and dress it so that it doesn't get in my way, and possibly get some better gloves so we don't have that happening again. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but as I said the other time I was talking about safety, I need to do art and whatnot, so I've got something like that on my hand that suddenly pops while I'm painting or drawing, get blood all over my work, which is all very goth, but like not very cool. Especially if you don't want red on your artwork. So yeah, and the other thing, I did all of this by myself, and these are big sheets of ply, so I thought I'd have a quick chat about how you go about doing that kind of thing. So over here, there's a bit of overlap left on the corners, that little tiles I talked about that we're sitting on, So what I did was I got a off-cut section of this framey stuff here. I jammed it in under the floor about midway there, and then I was able to just bring a ply sheet in, rest it in place on the corner piece and on the bit of stuff I jammed under there, and put some shims in and stuff made of cardboard and whatnot, just to get it all level up and put where I want it, and then just pin it in place a few places, check it, and then make sure it's all good, bolt it all in properly, which we haven't finished doing yet. You know, over there we've got more bolts along horizontally. We've got to put a bunch in here, but it started getting really hot and sunny, and I was just like, okay, get out the sometime because I don't want to get cooked again. My back's all bubbled up with blisters and whatnot at the moment, so we're still healing from that day. I really screwed it up, but we are healing, so it's all good. So yeah, they were the biggest and most ungainly bits of stuff to get in. Cut wise, if we go over here, what I did was I just I've been leaning lengths of wood and bits of ply if I'm just cutting the ends off, or doing little bits of wood there on this seat and on the sawhorse. And then for the bigger sheets, I lean the end of the sheet on that and on the sawhorse over here, and put between the sawhorse and the thing, just put some of those 3 meter lengths of wood I've got left for my framing, just chucked them in. So we had some support there, drop the sheet on top, and I can lean on top of it and just cut my way along this big long line right through the middle of the sheet. And that was our hardest cut to do. Again, did it all by myself, no support, no clamps, no nothing. So it's pretty simple. It's a bit of a fuck around, but you know, you get used to it. And yeah, this is what we've achieved so far for today. I'm pretty happy. Gives you a sense of the overall mass of the structure, how big it is and whatnot. So yeah, there's not a lot of space on that mezzanine, but I did just jump up there before while I was testing just how flexy that floor was, and go, yes indeed, I think we will put some horizontals in here because it's not quite stable enough. It'll hold the vertical weight, but the mezz deck sags a little bit and stuff, and you don't want that happening because, you know, one day it's going to sag too much and you drop through the middle or something. But yeah, with some cushions piled at that end, that's slouch height for me. It's about 700 millimeters, maybe 800, somewhere around there. But I'll be able to, you know, sit up slightly underneath the roof there and, you know, read books, watch TV on my phone or whatever, and do shit like that. And, you know, there's plenty of space to lie down and roll around, which is primarily what that space is for. I may, in the end, actually, at some point, add some shelving in the roof space here, because obviously this end just here, you're only putting your feet in it, so I only need that to be about a foot high. So I'll put another wee shelf unit in there, maybe because it'll raise the roof up some more, and just because it's cool. Put your clothes in there or something like that. And then if I didn't cover it already, down this end it's going to be our studio space. With a little wee desk unit and stuff against this wall. Over this end, eventually there'll be a wall through here actually, coming out this way. So in the alcove that will be created there, I'll add additional shelving and play around. There'll be a bit of mechanics and ventilation equipment and stuff, so I can actually run a small gas stove with a ventilator system attached so I don't die of carbon monoxide poisoning, and cook and store food and stuff like that in there. So it'll be a kitchenette, so to speak. This space here is 600 wide, which is just wide enough for me to sit down without brushing my shoulders against the wall too much or stand up, and out to about 1 meter, which is that's 600. Let me take it out to about there. So out to about where that sheet's sitting, there'll be a framed door here. So the little sub wall will come out to that, which again will add some structural strength through our mezzanine and go up to the roof, add more overall structural strength basically. And we'll be making a little mini cubicle there, which will have a shower unit with a solar shower bag on the outside wall over here. And this will be also where we're mounting our solar panels, because again, the sun's up there, comes from over there, goes over this way during the day, so perfect place to put some solar panels and get the most powerful sun around noon. For my charge purposes, and also for heating water on a solar charge bag, which will then be plumbed through the ceiling or through that wall with an electric pump, and we'll have a shower head up there and then a toilet down here, so every time you run the shower you end up cleaning the bathroom as well. Just soak everything down. So we'll be lining this entire space with plastic and stuff, but first of all, for stage one, we're just going to paint it all. If I've got any spare wood, I might start building the cubicle, but at this stage it's not really necessary, so I won't bother too much. But we will get it all painted interior. I did think about leaving some natural wood because I kind of like it and whatnot, but bought some white paint the other day, and I think, yeah, actually I'll just unify the texture overall with the internal space after I've gone through and bogged up my shitty construction there and stuff. Just paint everything white. just because, you know, I prefer that sort of, you know, plain environment, you know, black outside, white interior, and I might just sand the floor in polyurethane and just sort of leave that natural, because that's kind of cool looking, or will be once you get all my grubby footprints off of it. Or we might use that veneer material that it was going to go on the back of these shelves originally, that I pulled out the other day. You know, once I figured out exact floor plan of the shower and stuff, I think the remaining space I should be able to put that veneer stuff down and have enough of it to sort of coat the floor in this cool looking, you know, birch sort of ish stuff. So it should look quite nice inside, you know, pretty rustic, but you know, she's pretty basic and whatnot, but neat enough and whatnot. And then obviously got piles and piles of storage space for clothes and tools and whatever else I'm gonna store. And then we'll take some of our remaining framing wood and bits of wood and just general crap I've got to build a desk across this area here. And as I said, obviously this sits at that deck sits at just over 1500 high, and I'm well over that height. So this is a sit down only space in here. I'll have a little rolling stool that I've got on the side that I'll just bring in underneath, and you can just sort of sit down in there. But all the space outside of the shelving unit to the side of the mezzanine, that's all stand up space with actually like quite a bit of ceiling height. So it won't exactly feel light and airy on the inside, but it won't be claustrophobic either. It's small but effective. Yep, that's me done for the day. So I am going to shut this down, go have another beer, and see if I can make myself useful to the nice people who've let me use their backyard. You guys have a good one, and I'll get back to you with build day 7.